All right. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much for having me. This was quite a trip. I just arrived about 3 minutes ago because I was stuck in Moscow with an expired visa. Then flew at 5 a.m. to Berlin and then at 9 a.m. to Sofia. So if I'm a little, out of it, please accept my apologies in advance. Yes, I want to talk a little bit about what we do at Iversity and also what we have learned and what I think what some broader implications for online education more generally. So to start. I think we're still very early on in the game. If you look at this from a commercial perspective, this is a blue ocean market. Yeah, people. I think there's a rising tide that will lift all boats to come for maybe not all boats, but a lot of boats in the online education space because there are so many niches that you have yet to be seized, and there are so many fields where online education doesn't even play a major role yet. So I think what matters is being seaworthy here, and I think we're going to see tremendous change if you look at this S-curve of innovation in the years to come. So who are we? That's Iversity. I think just a bit of background. Right now, if you go to iversity.org, you'll see a platform where universities and individual professors offer courses to students that anyone can take. All of you could take. We have about 1 million course enrollments so far. I've received some warm words from the press, and have some reputable partners all over Europe. But as I said, I don't want to talk all that much about us, but more about what the implications of what we've done are for online education more broadly, and I think what can be learned here. So I think what is key is to, and I'm not entirely sure you could read this all the way in the back, but let me explain the essence of it. That I think there are two different types of online education that are emerging. There is the more traditional instructional approach, and that is about getting you from A to B. In the end, you will know what the professor knows, ideally, or you'll have acquired a certain set of skills or a certain amount of knowledge that the professor has sort of predefined, and it's getting you to that learning. It's about getting you to that learning objective more effectively and more efficiently. Yeah, and this traditional approach can be highly technical. So that, for example, what Udacity does is very much about this. It's a rather traditional approach to pedagogy for the most part, but it's highly technically. It's very technically sophisticated, of course. On the other hand, there's a new approach that we like to call participatory pedagogy that's emerging, and there it's more about the professor providing a framework and an impulse or giving students not the incentive, I would say, but through assignments, for example, the opportunity to explore their own capacities and learn with and from each other. So there it's more about contextualizing knowledge and coming up with your own solutions. And I want to give you a few examples because, of course, this is very buzzword heavy as to what this may look like. So, okay, is this? Yeah. One case study for this was our course Design 101. It's called Design 101 because it was 101 exercises, and tens of thousands of students from all over the world participated. An exercise could be something like this. So the professor said, "Hey, come up with a design, that's in the area of cooking. So a recipe, you'd think about ingredients, cooking utensils, and the like." And then there was a student who said, "Yeah, I'll make pancakes, but I'll make pancakes from felt. These are my ingredients, and those are my pancakes." Now, of course, this is a brilliant idea, and probably something that the professor didn't think about beforehand. So this is, I think, a very nice example that encapsulates in a very visual way what this is about, that this is not about the student learning how to make a cake from felt from the professor, but the professor providing an opportunity for the student to come up with that idea themselves and then sharing it with the community and getting feedback on it from all the others. And of course, they love this, yeah. We had other examples of this type. We had a course on designing resilient schools after the typhoon hit the Philippines. There's a professor who said we have got to do something about this. And they had teams from all over the world collaborate to come up with design proposals for new school buildings. And one of those schools actually being built in the Philippines. So you can see that this also works, you know, in more serious contexts. So you know, there it's about ideation, crowdsourcing. We also recently had a project or a course in the corporate space where, you know, L'Oreal sent 160 of their employees into one of our courses, and they used the peer-to-peer exercise where they recorded a video of themselves giving a presentation, and then got feedback on that video from other students, and themselves had to give feedback to other students. So again, it's not, of course the professor gave input as to what a good presentation should be, but then it was through the act of making it themselves, as well as analyzing and evaluating and critiquing someone else's work, that they dove deeper into the topic. And that's what we call participatory didactics. I have a few more examples of this type, just to give you a sense of, I think, what it is that is only possible in this type of online course where you can really leverage diversity of thousands of participants that wouldn't have been possible in traditional classroom, because I think that's key, that it's not about emulating the classroom experience, because then it's always going to be a second best seminar. If you try to do something that's almost like a seminar, but not really because it's online, then I think that's falling short of the opportunities that the web affords us online with online education. So here, for example, if you let students collect data points for you, say, you know, you go to the corner store around from where you live, what does a loaf of bread cost? You take a Google form, you have people input that, you take that data and they put in their zip code as well, you take that data and create a heat map of prices in different areas. And then the professor can discuss that and maybe talk about, you know, property prices and how they're related to you know, the prices in the shops and so on. But then it's going to be much more engaging to the students if they have contributed to this mini research result than if they just talk about it in abstract. A similar exercise that I think is could be quite interesting is to work with data segmentation and with combining qualitative and quantitative methods. So for example, you have these essays, yeah? Students write essays, potentially in large courses you could have hundreds or thousands of essays. Very hard to gauge what's in those essays and what's the general attitude is towards a certain topic. But you could take all these essays and segment them by certain demographics, and here we said, okay, let's take gender. And then you can take all these essays, put them in one big file, and upload that into one of those Wordle makers that you find online. And then you have two different Wordles, and the Wordle, the word that appears biggest, you know, is the one that's mentioned most frequently. And I think from those Wordles, you could very quickly, at a glance, get an impression, you know, if you have a pro and con debate, for example, in these essays, or if you have if it's, do people see more the opportunities or more the threats? I think you very easily see that, so what's the general attitude in that group and in that group, and you could compare it across, as I said, gender or age or other characteristics of diversity. And that again is something that this professor could then discuss with the students. Okay, what does it mean that these Wordles look so different? Also, the peer-to-peer exercise that all of you may have come across, you know, in the context of a MOOC, can be used in different ways. So the peer-to-peer means, you know, you write an essay, it's sent out to 5 other course participants, they grade you, you get 5 essays, you grade them, and then it's exchanged. Now, that's notoriously unreliable, of course, because people are, you know, some are better at evaluating other people's work than others. It is, however, very reliable in the extremes. The worst essays are probably going to be terrible, and the best essays are probably going to be very good, because if you have 10,000 essays, and there are people who got, you know, 5 times 10 out of 10 in a certain exercise, then that's probably going to be interesting. So if you pick those out and put them, you know, on a podium and present their essays to the entire course community, then of course that's a great incentive for you to write a good essay in the first place, because you know you have the chance that maybe your thing will be read by everyone. But also then it's really interesting for the students who wrote something that maybe wasn't so great to see what is a good piece of work, what does it look like, and how how can what can I learn from this that someone else has written. And then you can take the next step and say, okay, you take the top 4 students from that essay contest and you split them up in groups and say, okay, let's do an Oxford-style debate. You have 2 people that argue pro, and you have 2 people that argue con. And you can do that asynchronously, of course, over the course of a week. You know, the first person records a 3-minute video, the second person records a 3-minute video, the third, the fourth, and you have pro, con, and then you can show that debate, these 4 videos, again to everyone in the course, and have people vote on who won. And again, you know, you have much more engagement with the content that way if you, you know, see the course really as a community of learners where you can contribute yourselves, but even if you don't make it to, you know, into the spotlight, you still get your say at the very end as to, you know, who you think did the best job. And the reason all of this is important is because using these kind of methods, we really cover the full spectrum of learning. So we don't just stop at knowledge and comprehension, you know, where it's mostly about, okay, this is a certain knowledge you should have, and then you can check whether they understood it through some multiple choice question. But it's about applying that knowledge in a different context, analyzing other people's work, evaluating what they've done, and creating your own artifacts. And that could be an essay, but it could also be a presentation. It could be, as was the case in this L'Oreal course with L'Oreal, it could be a video. And if you cover that full spectrum of learning, you have a much deeper engagement and better understanding of the material. And I think the field where this is especially important is professional education, because in professional education, you have to dive deeper. I mean, you can know all the bullet points of a PowerPoint, you know, on leadership, on marketing, on PR by heart, and not know anything about the topic. So, and at the same time, if you if you have people that already bring certain knowledge, they will want to dive deeper to you know, and also learn from their peers. So let's see. Yeah. So what's next? The online education space, if you map it out, I think kind of from a commercial perspective looks like this. So we have the closed instruction, that is institutional offline instruction on site on the left, and that's where you have European higher education that was, you know, largely for free for the most part. And then you have corporate training and US higher education that had a price tag. And there, on the one hand, you know, the European higher education is, of course, as long as it's closed, you have limited scale, and then, you know, there aren't very high price points to begin with. In the US context, you have a lot of competition, but there are companies that are quite successful in this, like 2U. In the bottom right, you have the MOOC marketplace, where, you know, you have low revenue potential due to the fact that you know, these courses are largely free and people can opt to pay or not. And what I feel where there's a lot of opportunity is branded professional development, really working with global brands on making professional development opportunities accessible at the course level at a price point. And I think that's where, you know, the gravity of this space is shifting right now in terms of attention of the various startups and investors in this space. And that's where we're also active right now, building a B2B business model, basically as a digital enabler, combining the 2U model at the course level, where it's less regulated than at the degree level, with the Coursera model, or, you know, the Iversity model of having an open platform where you can pick and choose these courses, and you have a B2C business there, but also potentially a B2B business where you, as startups, sell to SMEs, and your partners sell to large corporates that they oftentimes already have existing relationships with. Actually, I'll skip this part because, yep. So this is what the education as a service ecosystem looks like in total then, and I mean, there could be a lot of cross distribution between the various partners, corporate and academic. So I skipped that as well. This is I'm kind of sorry that because this is an old version of the presentation, I had said another one, but okay. So I'll just stop there, I think, and yield for questions. And all I can say is thank you very much in the name of our team. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to talking to you now or later about all of this. Thank you.